In 1942, the U.S. Army didn't just need scientists, they needed a thief. To build the first atomic bomb, General Leslie Groves had to borrow 14,000 tons of silver from the U.S. Treasury because the nation had literally run out of copper. But that was the easy part. The real challenge wasn't the physics of the atom. It was the logistics of building a secret industrial empire across 3 states while the world was looking the other way. Welcome to What, Where, and Why channel. Today, we go behind the blueprints of the Manhattan Project to see how a supply chain won the race against time. General Leslie Groves was a man who thought in tons of concrete, not theoretical equations. Having just completed the Pentagon ahead of schedule, he was the only man brutal enough to manage 600,000 employees who weren't allowed to talk to each other. Groves understood the why of the project. Speed was the only variable that mattered. If the Germans got there first, the war was lost. He implemented parallel engineering, building factories for a process that hadn't even been perfected in a lab yet. It was like building a car factory while you were still figuring out if the engine should run on gas or steam. The logistics of the where were staggering. Oak Ridge, Tennessee was built in a valley for a reason. The mountains provided a natural blast shield if everything went wrong. Within months, it became the 5th largest city in Tennessee. They laid 300 miles of road and 55 miles of railroad track. The K-25 plant alone was a mile-long U-shaped monster covering 44 acres. It was so big that the supervisors used bicycles to get from one end of the floor to the other. But the fuel for this project wasn't just uranium, it was electricity. Oak Ridge consumed 15% of all power generated in the United States. This is where the logistics of how gets strange. To separate uranium isotopes, they used machines called Calutrons. At first, Groves hired PhD physicists to operate them. The scientists constantly tweaked the knobs, trying to optimize the performance, but the yield was low. Groves then hired local high school girls who had never seen a physics textbook. He told them, "Keep this needle on this line." The girls outperformed the PhDs. Why? Because the scientists tried to fix the machine's logic, while the girls focused on the process's consistency. This human logistics discovery allowed the project to scale up production to a 24/7 industrial cycle. How do you transport the most dangerous substance on Earth without anyone noticing? You use the invisible pipeline. Finished uranium-235 from Oak Ridge was sent to Los Alamos not in armored trucks, but in ordinary-looking briefcases carried by couriers on commercial trains. These men were told never to let the suitcase out of their sight. They slept with it handcuffed to their wrists. They were the ultimate last-mile logistics solution. Meanwhile, at the factories, the secrecy was so tight that if a worker mentioned the word uranium, they were fired and escorted out by the FBI within the hour. The logistics of silence was just as important as the logistics of steel. Let's go back to that silver. 14,700 tons of it. A Treasury representative responded to Groves's inquiry. "General, we're talking about silver in troy ounces, not tons." Groves didn't care. He took the tons. It was used to make the massive coils for the Calutrons. Every ounce of it was tracked. After the war, when the silver was returned, the accounting was so precise that 99.99% of it was recovered. This was the why of the Manhattan Project's success. Unlimited resources focused by military precision. They didn't just solve the math, they brute forced geography, economics, and human nature. The Manhattan Project proved that in the 20th century, the greatest weapon isn't a single bomb. It's the ability to organize 500,000 people to solve a single problem. It was the blueprint for the Apollo missions, the internet, and the modern world. If you want to understand history, don't just look at the kings and the battles. Look at the logistics. What should we analyze next? The hidden math of the Silk Road or the shipping secrets of the British Empire? Let us know in the comments. This is What, Where, and Why channel. Thanks for watching.